Good morning, Risk Raider fans, Red Raider fans, and other fans. Oh, yeah, we got to do the guns up like this.
Lee, do y'all have
Yeah.
any hand signs there in South Africa that we can
Yeah,
do?
do y'all do like a guns up?
I mean, I
something
could
like
show one right now, but we might lose viewers instantly.
Well, there we go.
You always got that going.
We're already
for
broken in for that. And those of you who know who that's for, you know it's for you. There you go. Man,
so
it's good
welcome
to,
to the show, Lee. And
Thank you.
we are so very glad to have you all the way from Cape Town, South Africa.
It was
That's
a
right.
long walk to get to our studios.
Yeah.
She walked
I
all the
didn't
way
even
to
know
long walk.
electricity would go that far.
It's a long cable that we have here. No, we're so excited. So, Lee, everybody's been waiting to hear from you because we've had our little shorts out there. You've hit some records on the shorts. Everybody's wanting to hear everything you need to know. The biggest thing we hear about is we need to know about this transplanted Texan who now lives in South Africa, and we don't know how you got there. We feel like you were actually born here and transplanted by the way we've all talked and gotten to know one another.
That's what I think happened.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happened. I think you need to ask your parents because I feel like that there's something, boom, y'all came over, checked
Switched at
everything out.
birth.
Bam, there you're over there. But it's a longer
Yeah.
story. You'll have to work that out with your
Kidnapped
family.
as a baby and taken to South Africa. That's
Yeah.
what I
Well,
think happened.
The thing is, what Jeff has started, because, I just thought that it was a me and Jeff thing. We just had instant chemistry and the communication was organic and it was fun and it was awesome. And then Jeff kind of planted the seed that I am this misplaced Texan. So naturally, what I did was I went to ChatGPT and I asked Chat, what do Texans and South Africans have in common? And Chat replied telling me, surprisingly, a lot. And I thought, okay, cool. So I actually have it in front of me because I thought it'd be quite cool to go through this. So the first thing is barbecue culture. So you guys call it barbecue. We have an Afrikaans word for it, which is braai. And braaiing is a huge part of South Africa. We have National Braai Day. Every house in South Africa comes fitted with an
way.
indoor
I have
barbecue.
never heard of that.
How do you spell
And
that?
BRAAI.
Oh my
And
God.
it is a massive part of our culture. We obviously have very good quality meat. And South African cuisine in general is very diverse, rich, full of flavor. And it's not just the act of putting meat on a grill. It's the whole experience. It's the coming together. It's the music and the vibes and the family and friends. And it's an event.
The drinking
So-
before and after as the meat cooks is like I
Well,
like to call it.
Absolutely.
think
Maybe we're
barbecue is-
transplanted South Africans, Brett.
Maybe.
It sounds like
No,
we
I
should be
think-
doing that.
Yeah, but I think
Maybe.
barbecue means that here too. It's more of a
It's a vent.
catch-all word. It does mean to cook meat on a grill or a lot of different ways, but it also is a fellowship kind of a thing too, I think.
Mhm. 100%.
I'm loving
So that was the first thing. That was the
number
first
one.
thing.
She got me with the food. I'm happy about it. Let's
Yeah,
go on.
we're
What's
in.
next?
Then we've got big skies and wide open spaces. And
I
I
know,
think that, to me, that
that's-
makes perfect sense.
That's us
So
right up
ranches,
here.
farms, deserts, plains, long drives. I mean, Cape Town in particular is just, in terms of the landscape, has so much to offer because you've got the ocean on one side, you've got the mountains, we've got nature reserves, wine farms, bit of everything. And then the next one I laughed at because I instantly thought of direct but warm communication. And it says people are plain spoken,
Yes.
call a spade a
It means
spade,
no filter. There's no filter.
Yeah.
no
Why
filter,
filter things?
humorous and
True.
welcoming once you're in. And I thought that was really interesting because I do think that South Africans in general, we are a friendly nation. But once you're in the clique, there's no going back after that. And I get that vibe from Texans as well. Yeah.
That is
I
it.
think that's absolutely the case.
We call it
Yeah.
I think if-
passing the muster. If you
Yeah,
can, and
yeah.
Brent and I have a deal. Like when we go to this one meeting we go to, we have this thing we call it the pit, where everybody's kind of by the bar and everybody comes around, and that's how you kind of know. You have to kind of come to the pit, and you got to participate in the pit, and then you kind of figure out it's not really a spoken thing. You just
Yeah.
naturally know, are they in?
It's an
or are
energy
they
thing.
out? Yeah,
Because some
everybody
people
does.
fail.
Yeah.
They fail the test.
And then Brent tells
Absolutely.
them. That's the awkward thing is when Brent tells them that they're out. I usually just smile and walk away, and then Brent's like, "You can't
didn't
come
make
here
it."
anymore."
You didn't make it. I'm sorry. There's no
failed the
scorecard,
test.
but
You know, I
You're
think that's
done.
really interesting. I didn't know about the barbecue thing. I think it is true,
Yeah.
though.
cool.
It's
There's
true.
three more. there are three more, if I may
What?
just kind of,
Let's
there's
keep
three more
going.
things.
I love it.
So the next one is love of sport. And
Yes.
South Africa is a big sporting country. I know football is huge in the US, and here, I mean, we're rugby world champions. You know what I mean? Like our boys are bred for
Yeah.
Oh,
playing
so
rugby.
it's not
so
soccer, it's rugby.
Football is where we call it's a men's sport,
Football we throw with our hands.
and we hit people.
Yeah.
So rugby is most
Rugby's
similar
closer.
to the football. And we have soccer here as well, definitely. But rugby is definitely kind of the sport that I think we are most well known for.
Oh, I love it.
You know, we were world champions many times. And then it's a strong regional identity, and it describes that it says Texans are very Texan, South Africans are very South African, often with deep pride in province language and culture too. And I think that's 100% spot
That's
on.
100% accurate.
It's really true, because if you're from Texas, you know, if you're somewhere else, like if I was in Cape Town or if I was in Europe or whatever, and they go, "Where are you from?" I'd go, "Texas." Now, some people would think you'd say I'm from the United States, but I'm like, well, yeah, but that's where Texas is. I tell people I'm from Texas. I mean, that's all we do.
Exactly.
So when you tell people, when you were in Taiwan and these other places we'll talk about, where do you tell them where you're from? South Africa, or do you use?
The challenge that I have is that even when I tell people, they don't believe me. I think the reason for that, it was something that I first noticed when I was 19, fresh out of high school, and I'd moved to the UK, and I was working as an assistant teacher at a school, kind of taking a gap year, you know, getting some work experience under my belt, and meeting people from all walks of life. And the most common question, as soon as someone hears your accent, is, "Oh, where are you from?" And I would say, "I'm from South Africa." And they would look at me puzzled, and they'd be like, "Oh, but you weren't born there." "Yes, I'm pretty sure I was born there." Then the next question would be, "Oh, but where are your parents from?" "Oh, my parents are from South Africa too." And then again, even more puzzled. And I couldn't make sense of it initially. I mean, this was 2000. And then I realized by watching British TV that all that was represented of South Africa was black and white and
Okay.
nothing in between.
Interesting.
And if you should ever come to South Africa, you'll instantly see that we are an absolute cultural melting pot. And one of the biggest reasons for that is specifically in Cape Town, because Cape Town is way down at the tip of Africa. We were the halfway point between the West and the East.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
So
that's
when
right.
ships were crossing the globe, they would stop in our harbor to restock and get their food supplies and buy slaves and sell slaves and all the rest of it. And that was how the East came to us and the West came to us. And of course,
Interesting.
naturally, there's a bit of cross-pollination happening there. And then, you know, you've got all of us. So
I think it's
I think
funny
people-
that the Brits would be talking about your accent when I can't understand what
I
they're
know,
saying.
right?
They probably were like, "Why does she speak so well?" There's
Where do
something
they
wrong.
think you're from? I mean, do they think your accent is like from someplace in Britain?
I've had all sorts of guesses.
Crazy over
Most obviously, they kind of lean towards anything either Mediterranean or Latino, for me specifically. So they'll say,
Oh, Australian.
"Are you from Spain? Are you from Brazil? Are you?" When I was in Thailand, you know, they would assume that I'm Thai. So it's interesting because
You're kind
when
of a
you are in
chameleon,
South Africa,
and now when they find out you're from Texas, that's really gonna freak them out. When
You
we
should
have
just
her,
start telling people you're from
when
Texas.
she starts
I
saying
think.
y'all and all that stuff, it'll start really graining into, and they'll be like, Lee's gone over the edge. She's gone.
I know,
She's
and I find
gone.
myself a cowboy boyfriend. Then
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, I'm telling
That's
you
it.
what, you come down here and you'll get one. I'll promise you that. Well, that's what's awesome. That's why I was like, this is why Lee's got to be on the show, because you've been all over the planet, but here, right? Have you been to the United States
haven't been.
before? So she hasn't been to the
I
United
have not.
States. But
I
you
have
Forget
not.
about going to the United States. You need to come to Texas.
Yeah, there's a difference, especially now. But the whole thing with it now is that, you know, when we're sitting there going, well, let's do this show because we love the fact of what you do. I think you're like a master communicator. I tell everybody, I'm like, Lee's got this ability, and if she tells her story, you hear how she's learned how to communicate with so many people like across the world. So it interests me to find out how you learned how to do that. And I know you're going to go, well, it's not learned, it's just intuitive. But you have to deal with cultures. You've had to work because the company you work for works with a lot of American companies. cities. So you're dealing with different, crazy Texans all the way up from wherever. And I'm just fascinated to know, because here on Risk Graders, we're always looking for people who take chances, take some risks, grow, do some things. And we want to learn what you did and what you overcame to kind of get where you are. Because I think you're the best in the business at what you do. So
Thank you.
we'd like to know a little bit about, like, when did you find out, or how did you get started in your role of where you like, man, because I can tell you're a people person. How did you learn that you really just can talk to people and make everybody feel just like, hey, I want to listen?
I think one of the first signs that communication was going to be a strength for me literally started when I was little. Every single school report that I brought home, the teacher would comment, Liesl has a tendency to talk too much in class. Every single report.
I had that same thought.
You know what they put on mine? They put that I had a lack of self-control.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Talking.
That's what they called
always
it. They called it lack of self-control. Okay, go ahead. I like it. Okay, so they always gave you a little hit on that one. Okay.
I was a naturally chatty child, and I was extremely close with my late grandfather, who was equally talkative. So the two of us were just two peas in a happy little pod, because he was my whole life and I was kind of his sidekick, and all we did was talk each other's ears off all day. And then as you kind of go through the stages of life, I started identifying pretty young that things like if I needed to do any kind of oral presentation at school, everyone else in my class would be freaked out. And to me, it was like, this is easy. It's a piece of cake. You got to talk to people, the same people I talk to every day. So I think there is just kind of innately, I never had a fear of speaking. But I do think that when it comes to communication, one of the key things that you need to learn is that it's not just about talking, it's about listening.
Yes.
And if you're going to say something, make sure that you're saying something worthwhile. So I think that that's something that you kind of master, and it does come with age, I guess, and life experience, but you learn to listen before speaking. I was always an avid reader. I know that's a very cheesy answer, but I loved reading, and I loved kind of building my vocabulary. And that was empowering for me when I realized, but if I have these words in my arsenal, it allows me to get my point across more effectively. Yeah. So it wasn't something I did consciously. It was just something kind of I guess I've built the habits, as the years went by. And the big thing for me and how I applied that in my work, I spent much of my 20s, and I think I was, no one kind of grows up saying, oh, one day when I'm big, I'm going to be a salesperson. Sales found me, right? I mean, I qualified as a teacher, but never went into teaching. Sales found me because people would say to me, you'd be a great salesperson. You can talk, you're good with people. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll give it a go. Did that, hated it. I don't like chasing targets. It felt insincere. I was more interested in the relationship building aspect of it. That was the part that I enjoyed. And then I took a very long break to be a stay-at-home mom for about 11 years. And in 2021, so this was kind of coming out of COVID, life threw me just one hell of a curveball, and I realized, okay, girl, you need to get back in the game. It's time to re-enter the workforce. And that was just unbelievably daunting for me, because my inner voice had kind of was telling me, no one's going to employ you. What are you going to do? When anyone looks at your CV, they're going to say, what have you been doing for the last decade? I'm making babies and, raising a family. And so I needed to kind of fight that voice and just take a leap of faith. And the easiest point of entry was to go back into sales, which I knew before I started I was going to hate, but I did it because I needed to enter the workforce. Right. And once I was in, I just thought, okay, cool. Now we're going to build. And I was rebuilding a career. I was going through a divorce. I was rebuilding a life. I was raising 3 kids, kind of piecing myself back together. And I kind of hopped around from job to job because nothing felt like me. And it bothered me. Guys, when I say it bothered me, I mean, I'll give you a prime example. I live in a small security complex. There are 10 houses, and all the neighbors are friends. And myself and a couple of the ladies in the complex, we formed a friendship, and we would sit out on the lawn and drink wine in the afternoon and tell our stories and share our stress. And I kept saying to them, I feel like a square peg in a round hole. I know I'm not where I need to be, and I hate what I do. And it bothered me for ages. And then an opportunity came for me to actually just register my profile with a recruitment agency in Canada, of all places.
Interesting.
And
Wow.
I thought, but I'm one of those people. I'm like, if an opportunity is presenting itself, it's presenting itself for a reason. I might not know what the reason is, but I'm going to go with it. And I went through a very intense recruitment process, probably the most rigorous recruitment process I'd ever been through. And it
From
lasted
Canada?
about 2 or 3 from
Sorry.
Canada.
The recruiter put you through that, or the people you
Yes.
were interviewing with?
No. The
Oh, the
recruiter.
recruiter. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And
That's
they
very interesting.
literally said to me, we only recruit the top 1% of account managers in the world.
Wow.
So you need to be on the top of your game. I had to submit video applications. I did aptitude tests. There were a number of interviews. And I just thought, this is insanity, right? And
Man.
after I think it was about 2 months of this, they gave me the thumbs up and they said, great, you're approved. And I said, so now what? Now your profile goes in. Now your profile goes into our database, and if any of our clients are interested in interviewing you, we'll let you know. And I thought, oh my God, it's like a dating site, but like for professionals. Gotta hope that somebody picks your profile out of a
So they
bunch.
put you through the ringer, not with a particular job in mind, just to see if you would qualify for what somebody they would recommend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's stressful.
It was intense. So I went through that process, waited a couple of weeks, and then there was just nothing. And then in 1 week, I think I had 5 companies that were interested. And I narrowed it down to 2. And when I ultimately made my choice, it was really just based on my own discernment. Something just said to me, this is the right fit for you. And I had no idea why, because it was an industry that I was unfamiliar with. I was going purely on the energy that I picked up in the interview. And I just thought, well, the only way to grow is to step outside of your comfort zone, right?
Wow.
And I did it. I accepted it. And what that started for me was I was coming out of this kind of sabbatical. I'd been off the scene for such a long time, but I was now playing in a completely different arena. All my clients are US based. So you need to be able to forge connection with people virtually on a screen. And that is more challenging than meeting someone in person.
I'll bet.
Because
absolutely,
right? In person, people
Crazy.
have presence. If someone steps into a room, you see them, you smell them, you feel their energy. Virtually is very different. So it was kind of mastering, how am I going to strike up that connection through a screen and overcome the cultural difference, the accent, all the things. And I think for me, what helped is that I was comfortable talking, and I told myself, it's just a conversation. It's just a person on the other side, same as you. So I try my best to listen well, communicate to the best of my ability. But I do think it's really important that you connect with people, like really connect with people. No one wants to feel like a number. No one wants to feel like they're just something on your to-do list for the day. So the way that I kind of was able to do that is I show my clients that I take a personal interest in you and your life. I notice things like, oh, you got a haircut today. What are your plans for the weekend? Oh, it's your daughter's wedding. Those little things that break the ice. Show the person that you're speaking to, this is someone who cares and they're invested, and that's helped. So
the listening is huge.
For sure.
Well, it is, but then also responding to it. That's the thing, because I can tell you Lee does that sort of stuff. As you know, a couple of months ago, I lost somebody in my family, and I mean, I wasn't even gone for 5 seconds, came back to the office, and there's a plant on my desk from her company and a note that she and one of her colleagues had written. And I'm telling you, it's not, you could take that and go, oh, somebody sent you something. But if you've spent a long time and y'all been listening to Lee, you kind of know it's very genuine. It's not like a oh, what's our procedure when something like this happens? Now, you know that when
Mhm.
it comes from somebody who's invested in you and somebody who spends time with you and connects with you, you know it's different. It's a whole different way. It's somebody trying to reach out to you. And I think that's where you've got this really neat thing that I'm hoping that when people are listening to this, that they're learning, because whether you're in sales or whatever, it's the type of connection that's genuine. And
Mhm.
I think it's so great to hear somebody who's not using their gifts as a tool to manipulate or create a sale. You're looking as a way to actually establish a relationship and then just trust that what you do and where y'all are going to do on a business or whatever will go wherever it's supposed to go. And I think that is so cool. I think it's hard to find, actually, in our industry. I think it's hard for us to find, but then to hear you doing it internationally, it just blows my mind.
I think it's
You know
hard to
what?
find people that were willing to listen. You know, anytime you talk to a salesperson, and I'm guilty of this myself, of just doing all the talking. And you said something a minute ago about listening, and that's something that took me a long time to get to that place where I could constructively listen and absorb what the other person was saying, and like Jeff said,
Mm.
respond to it, not just wait for my turn to talk again.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
I
a great
do
gift.
think there are two things that that I think helped me as well. The one is your work ethic. I mean, if we're talking about communication in a professional setting specifically, work ethic is huge, because if you have an internal drive to show up every day and be professional and be on top of your game and give your customers the best possible experience, then it means you are more mindful when going into any conversation. You're more mindful about how you speak, conduct yourself, your expertise that you're able to bring. And for me, I place a lot of pressure on myself to deliver a certain level of client service excellence. I never ever want my clients to step away from a meeting thinking, no, that was a bloody waste of time. You know, I want them to walk away and go, okay, great, we've got an action plan, or that was insightful, or whatever the case may be. I want them to enjoy their time with me. So that's one thing. I think your work ethic is huge. And then the second thing is, which is just kind of basic, but like just respect, right? Treat people the way you would want to be treated.
Yes.
And it's something that we hear all the time, but I think putting it into practice is something that isn't always easy, you know? But I try my best to make sure that I bring that every day into the workspace specifically.
So, what do you say to these young people or even old people who've got these bad habits where it's always just results oriented basis when it comes to what they're doing? I mean, it seems like everybody, and even some customers, I don't know how all your customers are. I know we try to listen and learn and all that, but then a lot of people have gotten into the mode of just tell me what I need to know. Let's just get it going. What's the
Mhm.
point? What do you want to do? Let's just skip all this stuff. Let's get. What do you say to the people who are driven by that sort of motif? How is that going to, what advice would you give them? Keep that going, or how would you tell them to maybe tweak their behavior? Because this is the way the world's going. Everything's instantaneous. We got to have
Mhm.
sales. We got to do all these things. So what would you tell them?
The thing is, you can't change the nature of someone. Some people, for example, are analytical numbers people. That kind of client is not interested in the chit chat. He doesn't want to know what I did on the weekend or how old my kids are. He's like, okay, cool. We've got 30 minutes. Let's talk shop. I respect that. So I think a key part to your effectiveness in the kind of role that I have is being able to read personalities. And that for me, I think is purely a gift, because I can read that in seconds. I know, okay, Brent is this kind of guy. I know exactly how the rest of this meeting is going to play out. The people that you deal with who are social, those are the ones where you can kind of take the liberty and have the conversation. And that's great, because that's relationship building stuff. I think with people who are more numbers driven and analytical, it's not to say that you can't build a relationship with them, but there the trust is based on something completely different. They will learn to trust you if you prove that you are good at what you do, because respect recognizes respect.
Like you have to
So if you,
deliver for those people first.
100%, 100%. So I think that I maybe just naturally have an ability to read people well, and that has helped me, because you become a bit of a chameleon, right? I know
Yeah.
the way I interact with Jeff, for example, I'm not going to do that with every single client that I have,
Now that gets you
because
fired.
this is our thing. So
Thankfully, you
you've got
don't
to
have
be
to do
able,
that.
Yeah, no,
you've got
she's
to,
like, can somebody take this guy and love it? Can she take their account? This guy won't go away. I thought for sure he would have gone out of business by now.
I just say that was one of the things that I love so much about what I do is every person you deal with is completely different. And you get to know the personalities and the quirks. And I think if you are charming enough, you are able to soften even the hardest person. Eventually they all come around and then they start becoming a bit more conversational. So I try my best to kind of get through the hard exterior. But I mean, if someone's all business, they're all business. Then
Those
you've
people are
got no
hard for
choice.
me, though. I really struggle with that because I have a hard time being serious for a length of time more than about 30 seconds. And so,
This
man,
is the most serious Brent's been on any
Yeah.
show. I'm like, my
Oh,
God,
is it?
I think he's taking notes. He's over there going, this is what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm in
I'm
therapy right
broken.
now. I feel like I'm going to have to pay Lee for this. I'm like, this is why I'm so bad at this business.
It's rubbish.
Well, no,
Oh.
because these aren't the
Excuse me.
things that are being pushed. The thing with it is it's not sales 101, but it's like relationship 101 that's not being pushed anymore. At least not over here. I mean, the culture over here is everything's moving fast, don't have time.
Yeah.
Don't
Close
want to,
them.
we don't want to have relationship. We want to have, you stay in your role, you sell me this product, you do this. I want to be left alone. I don't know what's going on over in my second town of Cape Town, but here in where I live, we're finding people trying to separate themselves, from all the processes of give me what I want and leave me alone, which is really strange because out here it's always a little bit more good old boy stuff. But even here, you're starting to feel that easing into the world, the isolationism. I don't know if you feel it there, Brent, and I don't know what's going on in Cape Town. But see, when I hear these things, I'm like, oh wow, Lee's living 20 years ago. But guess what? It still is the key. It's the secret sauce that's getting lost now. I just don't see it as much as I used to.
Well, here, the funny thing about Houston is, and this is kind of like Cape Town, I think, must be, we're very multicultural here. Very multicultural. I always say we're the most multicultural city on the planet because we have a port here and all those kinds of things. And we have large populations of every kind of person from all over the world. And so a lot of our challenge in selling and dealing with clients is we have cultural issues that we have to bridge. When we first get a new client, we have to kind of understand where they're coming from culturally that is way different than where I might come from culturally. And so we have to bridge that gap and then figure out kind of where they want to be in the relationship. Like, say, are they a numbers person? Do they want to joke around and have fun? I obviously do better with those clients than I do the ones that want to be serious, which are, a lot of times I'm like, ooh, this may not work out.
Yeah, you have to assign them to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, I can't.
Yeah. I
Doesn't
can't
let them
do
around that guy.
Yeah, can't do it.
No,
Can't
so
do
I mean,
it.
I think it's great to hear that.
Yeah, that's
I
good
think
stuff, though.
understanding your audience is really important. And even if you take it outside of the professional world, professional realm, if I look at just life in general, I mean, I've had the opportunity, been very fortunate to be able to live in other countries and be able to travel. And if I think about my time in Thailand, visiting a country as a tourist is very different to living there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
I'm
can
sure.
imagine,
Very
yeah.
different. Because if you're going to a place for, let's say, 2 weeks, your time there is fleeting. Like, you're there to just have the best time ever and come right back home. But when you live somewhere and you realize, okay, I'm here, I need to, I want to take root here and I want to feel settled and part of the community, your approach to it is very different. And one of the things that I learned in Thailand was that if I'm going to integrate into this society, I need to understand the society that I'm in. So I literally went onto Google and I searched, the top 10 cultural things to know about Thailand. And the things that I found out shocked me because it made me realize, oh my gosh, I've been offending people without even realizing.
That's the way I feel every day.
Like,
Yeah, that's the story of my life. That is
without even
fascinating. So,
realizing.
how long were you there? How many years were you there?
Almost 3 years.
So
So I
long
was,
enough, yeah.
So what was
yeah.
the most offensive thing you did?
Yeah, what were you doing that you didn't realize
What was the
you
biggest
know?
smack in the face to the Taiwanese people, my people? What did you do to my people?
So I learned things like, for example, look, there's the obvious things. For example, if you visit any of the temples, because the Buddhist temples are open to the public, and typically there'll be sort of a little market where you could buy memorabilia and food and sort of things, but you get to see the monks. But I mean, these men are incredible, right? So they've either like taken vow of silence, vow of celibacy, they've given up all the bells and whistles of life. So it's a very respectful place. And then you get tourists who rock up in bikinis and like shorts. And I'm like, these poor men are not allowed to speak. They've taken a vow of celibacy. This is like a spiritual place, and this chick's in a bikini. Like, you know what I mean? Like, show some respect.
Oh, disrespectful to the... Okay, I see.
Exactly. Cover
So
up.
they were actually hired by the head monk to make sure these guys are really serious about it.
Testing them.
So like that was one thing. And then I learned that it's rude to show the soles of your feet to someone. So, you know, if you imagine you're sitting in a public place, like the way I'm sitting in my chair right now, I've got my leg resting on my knee. So if anyone was sitting to the right of me, my soles of my foot would be facing them.
Never heard that before.
That's fascinating.
Your feet are filthy if you think about it.
Cool. Okay.
And
they go
pointing
barefoot
it-
a lot, I suppose.
No, well, sandals or barefoot. Obviously, it's very hot there as well. So, and then I started paying closer attention, and I noticed. But when I go to restaurants and I look at the Thai people, when they sit in their chairs, they sit with either their feet on the ground, or they would literally sit on the chair, like with their legs crossed and their feet out underneath them. So it's just like
Interesting.
little things that I started noting. For example, one of the worst things that you can do is embarrass someone. So if you go to a restaurant and the waiter messes up your order, it's a very Western thing to make a scene and call the manager, right? You don't do that in Thailand. It's either not done at all, don't complain, or you be very gentle and respectful.
Yeah, I don't like that either, frankly. I could live with that.
I'd never make it in
And
Thailand.
one of the things,
Because now I want to walk over there and put my feet up on a chair or something like that just to see how long it takes. Get thrown out of the country.
one of the things that was shocking to me, especially as a woman, you know how women are when they go shopping.
I
And
can't comment on that. I have no idea.
I'm not going
No,
there.
I think everything they do is right.
Yeah, what he said.
so
I love it when they go shopping, especially if I get to go.
Yeah, and they don't have a chair for me to sit in while I'm in the store. I love that.
Me too. It's my day.
not all the stores, especially on the islands, because we lived in Bangkok for 3 months and then we moved to Koh Samui, which is an island in the Gulf of Thailand. So it's a proper island style. So sometimes you'll walk into a proper brick and mortar store, and then other times it's kind of more market style, where it's literally a woman on the side of the road who's got a table and a railing with clothing, and
Oh, wow.
she speaks very little English, and you speak very little Thai, and you communicate via a calculator because the price is always negotiable. Okay, so you point to
So you
something,
that's interesting.
right?
You
So you
punch
point
in
to
a price
something,
and show it.
yes, and then you
Fascinating.
kind of.
Wow.
So I stopped at the store, and the only thing that she sold were these basically recycled jeans that had been turned into shorts. And I was like, this is so cool because it's like a thrift store. Okay. Now, at the time, which is very important to note, I was very average size in terms of my physical build. Okay. So very average size, normal South African woman. But Thai people are tiny.
So, yeah, they're very
So
small.
they're very petite, men and women. They're very petite. And I'd found a pair of shorts that I loved, but I needed it in one size bigger, which again is what would be considered a very average size in the store. So I asked her if she had a bigger size. And she looked at me and she said, no do big size. And I thought to myself, and my ex-husband laughed so loud behind me because never in a million, imagine a
Right.
shop assistant said that to someone in a Western store, you know? But I had to understand, in their culture, she wasn't
To
being rude.
them, yeah, it was big.
And that's when
She said we
Lee
don't-
took her shoe off and showed her the bottom of her sole and walked out of there. Take that.
So
you
there were
soulless
lots of little
person.
things we had to
That's
learn
crazy.
along the way.
So you
But
guys
I
lived
love
in
it.
Bangkok. That's got to be a crazy place, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
can't even describe it. It's
I saw
probably
Hangover
so
3,
far
and it
out.
looked really crazy there. That's all I'm going to say.
Bangkok's insanity. And when we moved, I only had my eldest daughter at the time, and she had not even turned 3 years old. So she was 2 and a bit. And so we moved to Thailand, where we had never ever been, not even on holiday, because we kind of just had this moment of, YOLO, it's now or never, let's just go.
Yeah.
And we went with a 2-year-old and no family, no friends. We had no one. And we spent 3 months in Bangkok. And, we were travelers. My ex and I loved to travel. So we just embraced it and we did everything on tuk-tuks, on boats, in taxis. I went to a store. I bought a pram, a stroller, because I was like, there's no ways I'm carrying a 3-year-old on my hip. And we just it was incredible. But I think that's if you have the mindset of a traveler. If you're the kind of person who embraces different food, weather, language, culture, then it's amazing.
So were
Some
you guys
people,
in South Africa when you decided to go there, or were you in England
Mhm.
when you decided to go there?
No,
You
no,
just you
in
just
South
woke up
Africa.
one morning and were like, let's go to Thailand.
So at the time, I was doing the housewife mom thing, and my ex, his business was online, and he had a business partner who was a Frenchman, but he'd been living in Thailand for about 8 or 9 years at the time. And his business partner said to us, "Why don't you guys come to Thailand?" And we sort of
Oh,
looked
okay.
at each
So they
other,
were the
and
catch.
we
They
were
were the
like,
hook.
he kind of looked at each other, and we said, "I don't know. Why don't we move to Thailand?" And 2 weeks later, we packed up our house, sold our cars, and we were gone.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
2 weeks?
yeah,
So,
2 weeks.
I mean, communication-wise, okay, so you like to talk. I mean, how did you blend in Thailand?
I learned the
Well,
basics.
you said they thought you looked like you were from there. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, but you didn't speak Thai, right?
So you learn the basics,
Food.
hello, thank you, how to count money, for example, basic things when it comes to food. But the Thai people, because there's a huge tourism industry in Thailand. So, all of the business owners, whether it's a little cafe or a restaurant or a hotel, they all have some level of English. And between their broken English and your broken Thai, kind of meet each other halfway.
Is it a hard language to learn? It's got to be.
I think so. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I would
But
imagine.
Trust me.
there are these beautiful little things that they do, though. For example, as a woman, if I greet you and I say "Sawadee ka," by adding the ka at the end, because when you hear someone speak Thai, you hear them say ka at the end of every sentence. Well, for women it's ka, for men it's ka. And I was like, what is this? Like, I feel like that's the only word I'm hearing. And what it doesn't actually, the word itself doesn't mean anything specific, but what it does is it shows the person that you are speaking to that you are addressing them with respect.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a lovely way to convey to someone.
So if you were
I'm
upset with
addressing you
somebody
respect.
or you were in a dispute with them, you wouldn't add that at the
There'd be
end.
no cut.
Nuka. I'd be like, Nuka.
Not cut to you.
Okay, so what did you learn? So you're over there, then you've come back. What did you learn from Thailand that helps you today?
So this I learned especially, I want to say on the island because I spent more time on the island than I did in Bangkok, but you will see it in Bangkok as well. Thailand is not a very rich country. The average person, the average family is not wealthy the way we know wealth. And you would drive through kind of the residential areas. And I know in Cape Town it's like this, our suburbs, there are more affluent suburbs and then there are the not so affluent suburbs. But in Thailand, you could get an amazing double story and right next to it is a grass hut, So you see everything. But the thing that stood out to me the most is that people with very, very little, they took such pride in what they had, the little that they had. So you would see a little hut house, and you would see that person, that granny, sweeping the front step, tending to her garden, feeding her pets. Her house is neat and put together. There's just this gratefulness for the little bit that I have. And I think
that's
for
neat.
us, coming from Western culture, where it's never enough,
Right.
Nothing's
want
ever
more.
enough. Exactly. And then you look at people who have far less than we do. They take such pride in it. I mean, I showed my mom a a video because for the longest time I was trying to describe to her these fruit vendors, like fruit sellers that you find on every street corner in Thailand. And it's literally a woman or a man that has a kind of like a wagon. I don't know how to describe it to you, but it's like a wagon on wheels. It's got ice in the bottom. It's got compartments on top, and he's got all different types of fruit. Pineapples, papayas, like beautiful dragon fruit, you name it. It's like exotic, gorgeous, amazing fruit. But the way that this fruit is prepared it's like art.
Wow.
So everything it's clean and beautifully packed. And I looked at it one day and I realized this is more than just a fruit cart. This is his business. This is his livelihood. He's sustaining his family on this cart. And he takes such pride in it. To me, I think that's something that we lack.
A
in
ton
Western
of pride
culture.
in their work, even though it was seemingly
100%.
modest. It was incredibly prideful and a lot of effort
Yeah,
going into
it
it.
gives me a lot to think about just in everybody who has their own business. Yeah, that's the whole thing is you can get lost in what you're doing or what you think you're doing, but then you miss the big picture. And the big picture is that sort of thing right there. It's the little things. It's the things that really give the image. As everybody's worried about their image or all those what your brand is. I mean, that's really what your brand is really what you take pride in and what you put your heart into. So I just think that's amazing. When I can definitely tell you do that. You've carried that with you in your professional life. I'm sure you carry that in your personal life. I mean, I think when we sit here, Brent and I are just sitting here going, I could just listen to Lee all day long.
Yeah, I'm astonished.
Yeah,
I
feel like
pack up and move to Thailand in 2 weeks.
I feel
That's
like
fascinating.
a
Let's
horrible
go.
person.
Let's go.
I hate myself now because I'm like, God, why am I even on the same show with her?
I'm such a chicken. I'd never do it.
No,
I
I
just
wouldn't
would
do it
never
either.
do
And
it.
then
You need to go.
I'd be just
You need
trying
to
I
go.
want to go. I
survive.
would love to visit, but I'm saying I would never pack up and sell my home and go
Brent and
to.
I'd be over there having a heart attack, stressing about where are we going to get over here? Are we going to get killed? Are we going to do that? No, but just that embracing life and doing it, and then letting you see what you can learn from it and take it with you. I think it's just fascinating. So, yeah.
The way I looked at it
lot.
was like, what's the worst that could happen? We hate it, we come home. Guess what? Cape Town will still be here. Cape Town's not going anywhere,
And that's the right way to look at it. I 100% agree. I just don't think I could do it. I'm sorry.
Brent would
I
be
guess
going,
I'm too-
Houston's going to leave. Houston's gone. What happened?
Yeah, it'll definitely still be here.
You'd have to come to Lubbock. Brent's going to
Yeah.
leave and come to
I would
Lubbock. He's going to do
I
it.
would love to come. I definitely
should-
need to
You
visit
should
the
definitely
US.
find a reason to come to Texas because I don't think you really. And I would like to come to Cape Town too. I've never been to Africa, and I'd love to come over. In fact, one of my good friends in Rotary is from Kenya, and he keeps telling me I should come over there with him to his hometown.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
man, I don't know. That scares me a little. I mean, I'm like, Kenya, I don't know what's that all about. And he's just like, you've got to come. And I'm like, I don't know.
You got to
man.
come.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think that, Jeff, I just wanted to say, I think something that I'm learning more and more is I think there's been a lot of misrepresentation of South Africa specifically in the US.
Absolutely.
And I say that now because I've now spent time with my US-based clients and just based off of the kinds of questions that I've been asked. It's so insightful because it makes me realize, oh boy, like you guys have just a completely different idea of what this country is all about. People say things like, oh, but I believe the crime is so bad. You know what my response is to that? Name a country where the crime isn't bad.
Exactly.
Name a country where Netflix literally has an entire genre dedicated to crime documentaries. And when I look at that, they're countries from all over the world. So we can choose to focus on the negative things and judge the many by the actions of the few, and
Right.
then deprive ourselves of an opportunity to actually explore something or experience something or meet amazing people. Like for me, I know again, I'm not an authority on the matter and all things like geopolitics, not at all. But just as a South African citizen, I think you have a choice to either embrace your country, the good and the bad, and then decide what kind of ambassador you want to be for your country. You're going to be the type
That's a
of
good
person that
point.
goes abroad and just shit talks like, sure, cool. But then, don't get upset when you have your fellow South Africans who love SA and are proud to be South African. That irritates me. People who run overseas and have nothing nothing but bad things to say. And then what happens 9 times out of 10, they go overseas because they think the grass is greener on the other side, and they come running back a couple of years later.
Funny.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. What kind of an ambassador are you going to be? And because you're right, every place has good and bad. I mean, certainly here in Houston, there are lots of dangerous places here. But there's a lot of great things too. And I would think it's probably the same thing for you guys over there. And you're right, a lot of people's perception is negative, and that's probably just unfounded. It's just crazy listening to the wrong people rather than go find out for yourself.
Yeah, you're just wasting time. I mean, people, it's just in general, just like this show. But you can be on the opposite side of the planet, but in general, when you sit down and maybe have something special in your cup, maybe like I have, and you sit down and you start talking, you find always you have much more similarities than you do differences. Right. And then what you thought you had was a difference is really just doesn't really mean anything. Because people are people if you don't give them a chance to be people. And that's whether if you're in business or not, and you just accept people and I tell you, it's always you're dumbfounded because you think you're going to go in with an opinion, you walk out and go, yeah, I liked him. I liked her. Yeah, I know. They're normal people. And then actually, I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, I'm the one who walks out feeling like the turd. I'm the one who walks out and goes, yeah, I'm the bad guy. That's where you go. I'm the bad guy. And it happens.
I don't believe that.
Well, no, it's true. It happens sometimes with all of us, but more with me than anybody else. But anyway, I think it's great. And gosh, Lee, I just can't thank you enough for being on the show.
Yeah, this is super fun.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
I think that what you bring to the table is such honesty and the way you can convey, your strengths and what you've learned and a lot of things. I think for people like me, whether you're looking at it as a person or you're looking at it as how you want to be in your business, I think you've reminded us of the important things and that it's possible. Not to give up on the important things that they make a difference. And I really applaud you for that. And your kids are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
And we're lucky to have you on the show. And I hope if everybody who listened to this episode, y'all are one luckier person like us because Lee's got a lot to share with us. And I thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. I had no idea what we were going to, when you first reached out, I thought, what value could I possibly add? What does Jeff want to talk about?
Yeah, and I just tell you, I didn't know. I mean, it's the same
We never
thing.
know where it's going to go.
That's the part of Risk Raiders. It's a risk coming on because we don't know where it's going to go. But we want to go where the guest goes because I feel like I told Brent when we talked about this, and he said this to me too before we came on. He goes, "I think Lee has something she wants to tell us." And I said, I don't know what that is. And I always felt like, well, I think we could learn something from Lee. We both had that intuition. And so I think that we actually learned more than we even bartered for. And I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you spent the time because where you are, it's late at night there, folks. She put in some extra hours. If it was Risk Raiders, Brent and I would never be recording at that time because we don't care enough.
Okay.
But Lee cares enough, and we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, we appreciate
I do want to say one thing. I don't think it's a Lee thing. This is an everybody thing because everybody, I know I touched on this before, everybody has a story to tell. Everybody's got something of value. The problem is we don't take the time to stop and listen to people because to your point earlier, Jeff, people are focused on the numbers and the next thing and we're chasing targets and goals and we're not taking a moment to just go, I just want to connect with you, even if it is for 90 seconds in a meeting. That's okay, but I want to take the time to connect with you. And who knows what might come. Look at this. I had no idea when I first met Jeff that this was going to, evolve into a friendship and a collaboration of some sort. But here we are. And it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't given it the opportunity. So I think we just need to take the time to talk and connect with people, let them speak, share their stories, and it could be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You just don't know what you're going to hear, and a lot of times it's not what you expect, and that's the beauty of it, I think.
Well, you never know what I'm going to say.
No.
No one ever does. All right, guys. Well,
so
listen.
The next episode, we're going to broadcast from Thailand, the three of us on the beach.
That's right. We'll have to meet up.
Hear some more about that.
No, we're going to have to go completely to a neutral country, and somewhere we've never all been, and we're going to go and do a show from there. Brent and I will be huddled underneath the table, scared, and Lee will be like, "Let's talk to the people," and we'll be like, "No, let's go. Let's just go. Let's get this done. We got to get out of here." And put our shoes on because they're looking at us funny.
Yeah, looking at our feet.
All right, guys.
Sounds like a
It has
plan.
been great. Lee, go get some sleep. Thank you for all you do
Yeah,
for us.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so much.
sharing. Thanks for being on Risk Raiders. Everybody, thank you for watching this episode.
And
Don't
keep
forget the
your
little guy
guns
up here.
up.
Guns
Don't
up
forget
for
that
Texas
part.
Tech. Bam. Lee, tell everybody in South Africa we love them, and thanks for coming on the show. And tell
I
your
will.
kids thanks for sharing the time. All right,
All right,
everybody.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Go out,
guys.
learn something.
Bye.
Have fun.
See y'all next week.
See you later.